Welcome back to Playmakers Alley. Today what we're going to talk about are the skills that are required to play the sport. Now, American football is the ultimate team sport in my eyes because generally it can fit all different sorts of shapes and sizes, and if you have an understanding of your own personal strengths and weaknesses, you can really flourish in this game. So, what sort of skills are necessary to play the sport? In my mind, there are 7 core skills. Some might have others, but in my mind, there are 7. And if any of them are clearly different from offense to defense, I'll highlight. And this is very much from like a player viewpoint, what the skills are. So first and foremost, effort. You've got to be willing to show effort. You've got to have effort on the field, run around, chase things. Even if they seem lost, you've got to be willing to show effort on every single given play. Secondly, what you have is you've got to have the ability to tackle. Particularly, well, defensively, yeah, you've got to tackle. It is not good enough if you're in one of those positions where you mainly cover passes not to be able to tackle. Everyone else definitely is expected to tackle, but the entire defense has to tackle. And the opposite for offense is that generally everyone needs to be able to block. Yes, if you're expected to just pass the ball, you might not have to block as much, but everyone needs to be able to block. Those 2 things are the foundation of American football: tackling and blocking. So defensively, you've got to be able to tackle regardless of what position you play, and offensively, you've got to be able to block. Third thing, what you need to have an inquisitive mind, particularly if you're picking up the sport relatively early, relatively new. Like, your coaches will teach you, they want you to do this, they want you to do that, but you've got to constantly have your mind open to being willing to ask questions. Now, I'm not saying bombard them with questions, particularly early on if you don't have any idea about anything when they're teaching you stuff, but generally after a few weeks in, maybe 2 to 5 weeks in, and you start seeing different formations or attacks from offenses or different things from defenses, the principles or the rules that your coaches have taught you, you might see, oh, in this scenario, this small thing happened and I don't know how to deal with it. And then you go to your coach with your open mind, think, okay, cool, based on our scheme or what we've run, this is what I think should happen, but this treats it slightly differently. I need to be open to going, okay, cool, that's how we deal with it. And then your coach can explain to you, okay, within our scheme, this is how we deal with this situation. So you've got to have an inquisitive mind. You've got to have an inquisitive mind. And that's also in understanding that, like, generally coaches will teach you a toolbox of skills, or they might teach you a certain way of doing it. But ultimately what they want is for you to get the job done within a certain parameter. So understand, okay, cool, this is how I've been taught to do it. This is maybe your own research or other ways how I can still get this job done and it's fitting more to my skill set. Generally, coaches should look to teach a variety of ways of doing stuff because not everyone's the same. But if they don't, you have to have an inquisitive and open mind to go, okay, cool, this is the ultimate task I'm being asked to do, whether offensively or defensively. This is the initial toolbox skill I've been taught. What else can I learn in order to be able to fundamentally get my job done? Because that's ultimately all they care about. And that's what's going to get you reps on the field. The next thing is that you've got to have self-belief. You've got to have self-belief. If you ain't your own biggest cheerleader, no one else will be. And that being said, it's not the case that you necessarily have to scream from the rooftops or you have to be arrogant or brash. If that's your nature, fine, have at it. But if it's not, that's not necessarily what it has to be. But what it is that deep down, you've got to believe that you can do it and that you have the ability and the strength to do it. As I said, this is the ultimate team sport. A variety of people, a variety of different shapes and sizes and strengths and weaknesses. Strengths and weaknesses can play the sport. But coaches might have a certain mold that they're expecting you to be in or expecting you to look. But ultimately, vast majority of coaches, if you can show you can do it, they'll put you on the field. So even if you're not the stereotypical mold they're expecting, have a belief in yourself, be able to get the job done, and when your opportunity comes, take it and be willing to constantly learn. Then yeah, that's a skill you certainly need, because if you're not the stereotypical build or what they want or they're expecting in their philosophy, you show them that you can ball, they'll put you in. But if you don't believe it and you're constantly going, woe is me, why am I being faced by all these challenges, why can't they see that I'm better than this guy, better than that guy, and you're not just focused on understanding the game, getting better, proving it, and then when the opportunity comes, taking it, then yeah, you'll struggle in this. You'll struggle in this, particularly if you're picking up new. As I said, if you're not your own biggest cheerleader, who will be? Next up, you've got the next skill that you need within this game is the ability for block engagement, block assessment and block engagement. Now, I'm going to talk about this from a particularly defensive viewpoint, but it can also work offensively. When I say block assessment and block engagement, is understanding which blocks when the offense is trying to get to you, that you can either look to avoid or have a light touch approach towards in terms of making a play, and which blocks you need to attack and need to deal with. Because there is an understanding between the two. It's not every single block you've got to take on, particularly if it has no influence on dealing with the person that ultimately matters, which would be the ball carrier. So learning that there, you've got to be able to assess which blocks you deal with and don't deal with. That's important. And for a simple rule, just for now, it's essentially if you are play side, or the direction that the play is going towards, and you're within between about 6 to 8 yards of the ball carrier, play side, it's a block most likely you have to deal with. That's very loose, but block assessment is very important. And then block engagement, having means of dealing with blocks or engaging with blocks, whether that be to rip and get tight to them, or whether that to be to engage and look to generate extension, control the block and then shed them, or whether that be to just look to blow them up. Understanding these two things, which complement each other, block assessment and block engagement, are fundamental, particularly on defense. Offense would be a similar thing in terms of block assessment, understanding what sort of block you might have to prioritize during the play and how you're going to engage with that block. So to recap what we've gone through I believe 5, but I'll check that. We've gone effort, tackle or blocking, self-belief, an inquisitive mind, and then block, assessment and engagement. Now, there's only 2 more skills which I want to talk about today or during this video. And the next one is what I would describe as A.S.A.K.H. A.S.A.K.H. So that's A.S.A.K.H. And what the acronym stands for is alignment, stance, assignment, key, and hunt. Now, alignment is how you line up for a given play. Once the ball's been put down and either the offense or the defense has come out, where do you position yourself? That's important on every single given play. Stance is being in a position prepared to make a play and to go out during the cadence or during the snap, during the progression of the play of the ball. Assignment is knowing what your job is. Once that ball snapped, or the referee blows in the whistle and the offense starts moving the ball, understanding, okay, cool, this is my role, this is how I feel my role, this is what I must perform. Because once again, because it's a team aspect, particularly defensively, everyone has a given job and they don't tend to overlap. So if you don't know what you're doing, it can leave major holes within the defense. So assignment. Then next one is key. So you know where you're meant to be, you're set up, prepared to make the play, you know what you've got to do once the play gets going, and now what you want is an ability to put you moving towards the right direction. And that's what your keys are. And for each given position, you'll have different keys. So for those defensively who predominantly defend passes, their key may be the person throwing the ball or the person who's running the route to try and catch the ball. Others whose jobs are predominantly to defend the run, their key might be one of the big guys who's there to block and create lanes for the person running with the ball. So that's a key. And understanding that because offenses and defenses, but generally let's go from the viewpoint of offenses do different things on a given play, being able to know what you're looking for and how that will guide you into what your responsibility is, because they can be hybrid, is important. So assignment. So we've got alignment, where you are. Stance, being prepared once the ball gets going. Assignment, what you've got to do on a given play. And then key, which one of the options, if you have several different assignments on a given play, that you'll take based on information presented to you by the opposition, whether that be offense or defensively. And then finally, it's about hunt. The game is relatively simple in terms of once it gets going and the chaos kicks off. Once you get through all those processes, you've now just got to move and either hunt out the ball or hunt out people if you're on offense and you're trying to deal blocks. Go and get to that ball. trust all the things that's been drilled into you, that's taking you to the point where you're now moving in the right direction. Now go out there, be an athlete. Go out there, hunt what you need to do. So that's the final bit. So A.S.A.K.H. So so A.S.A.K.H. And then the final one is if we've got pass in a pass situation. Defensively, you're either going to be covering, so covering people who are running routes to try and catch the ball, or you're going to be blitzing generally. So you're either going to have a coverage assignment or a blitz assignment. And it's understanding which one of these two you've got to do and be able to do it and be able to function with it. And then on the other side of the ball, offensively, the equivalent would be if it's a pass, you've got to be able to pass pro if that's your assignment, or be able to run your route if that's your assignment. And those are technical things which you will learn, but these are the 7 skills in which you just need to be able to do in order to have an opportunity to become good and hopefully great at the sport, particularly here within the British game. So that's what I wanted to touch on during this episode. What skills do you need to? I hope one of the things you've seen and noticed there is that not a lot of it is technical, although obviously you have to be technically not gifted, but be able to pick up technical skills during the sport, otherwise you can't play the sport. But a lot of the energy around it can be what you could describe as soft skills: effort, inquisitive mind, self-belief, being able to understand the nuance of your assignment, your alignment, your stance. These things aren't all that technical. And generally, a lot of them apply both for offense and defense, and can be both for pass and run situations. But yeah, let me know if you think anything otherwise. But yeah, those are the key skills that you need to be able to play the sport, get good at the sport, hopefully get great at the sport. And I'll catch you later on the next episode. Over and out. Cheers.